Welcome to Roger That, a podcast presented by HVAF of Indiana. I'm your host, Lauren Carpenter, and join me as we discuss how HVAF is ending veteran homelessness and how you can join us in our mission. We'll be having conversations with community partners, staff members, and even some of the veterans we serve. We hope sharing more of our story with supporters like you can shine a light and give a voice to this vulnerable population, because no hero should ever be homeless. Hello and welcome back to another episode of Roger That, a podcast presented by HVAF of Indiana. And before we dive into today's episode, I want to share with you some stats from last month that show you how HVAF is serving Hoosier heroes here in Central Indiana. So last month in June, we provided temporary housing for 108 veterans and provided emergency and permanent housing for 198 veterans. And we are super excited to share that we have placed 153 unique veteran households into permanent housing so far this calendar year. Now, the reason this is so exciting to us is because at this time last year, we had placed 103 veteran households into permanent housing. So that means there is a 50% increase in permanent housing so far compared to this time last year. And we provided essential items to 254 veterans through our food, clothing, and hygiene pantry. Our employment specialists helped 10 veterans get hired and receive the opportunity for a good and promising career. 13 veterans received legal services thanks to our partnership with Neighborhood Christian Legal Clinic. And so far this year, we have served 974 veterans, and we know that we could not do this without your support. So thank you so much for donating, volunteering, following us on social media, and listening to our podcast. To find out more about what HVAF is doing to serve homeless and at-risk veterans in Central Indiana, go ahead and head to our website at hvaf.org, and I will link that in our show notes as well. All right, today on Roger That, I am so excited to share with you my conversation with HVAF's VetWorks Coordinator, Kristin Birch. Kristin has served on Team HVAF for 4 years now. She started out as an employment specialist and now has moved up to leading our VetWorks program. VetWorks, which stands for Veterans Workforce Renewing Knowledge and Skills, is an intensive 3-phase work, learn, and earn program designed to skill up our veterans to achieve their earning potential. Veterans complete on-the-job training, have access to education and certifications, and they receive assistance to obtaining a good and promising job. And this is all thanks to a grant from Lilly Endowment. More information on VetWorks can be found on our website, and I will include a link in today's show notes. VetWorks has opened so many doors for our veterans as they work to become self-sufficient and create a better future for themselves. But don't take it from me. Let's hear it from one of the amazing people who make this program possible. Let's get into my conversation with VetWorks Coordinator Kristin. All right, today on Roger That, I am joined by VetWorks Coordinator Kristin. How are you today?
Great, thank you. Thanks for having me. I'm flattered that I have been invited to Roger That.
Oh, so. I'm so glad that you're flattered. Thanks for taking time to talk with me and talk with our Roger That audience. So yeah, we'll go ahead and get started. So first, if you could just share a little bit about your background and, case management, employment services.
Sure. Yes. I think it's interesting when you come out of college, kind of where things go for you. Mm-hmm. I knew kind of what I wanted to do, but I wasn't totally for sure. I wanted to work with people. I wanted to help people with the whole, social work thing. Yeah. So I started at a not-for-profit that works with money management and debt management, pre-purchase housing counseling. It was such a great experience. I was very young. I didn't know what I was doing, but I learned so much. Mm-hmm. And then a friend of mine there was like, I really want you to meet someone that I work with. And she worked with disability services at Goodwill, and I fell in love with her right away. And I was like, this is what I want to do. And I did that for a really long time. I worked with adults with disabilities, specifically in employment. Okay. So I worked with them from the beginning till the end. So whether that be trying to write, an application or interviewing, I worked heavily with employers in the area, helped train, devise maybe what would work better for them, any kind of accommodation that might need to be made. And I loved it. It was very community based. But I did realize, I think that I was burning out, but I did that for like 15 years. A friend of mine who worked here, she was like, I would love it if you maybe would apply for this position. And as soon as I read about HVAF and did some research, I had done some veteran work when I was with Goodwill through a couple contracts, and I just because was drawn to veterans.
Yeah.
So I interviewed, and I just knew that I was home.
Mm-hmm.
It's really hard to explain, but I loved it here immediately.
Yeah.
So I love the team that I work with and the support that we have from upper management. So yeah, it's been a cool transition.
Yeah, I know we're only a few episodes in right now, but from the episodes here on Roger That and just on our blog, or just even conversations I have with my coworkers, I just always see that there's such a passion almost with everyone here.
Yes.
And everyone just is so committed to the cause, which
right.
can make all the difference. It's
I
really cool
agree. And I think it also helps. We do a variety of things here.
Yeah.
So you're always learning. And I always say, if you feel like you know everything about your job, you should move to a different job.
Yeah.
Because we do so many different things here, whether it's helping bring in donations or helping Katie in the pantry or clothes, or if someone is coming in not knowing what we do or what they need. So let's find out.
Yeah.
And so it's a real process, but if you have a passion for our veterans, then you're going to love it here, because everyone does.
Yeah. And I know your husband is a veteran.
Yes. My husband is a veteran. He was 5 years active in the Army, and he did 16 years reserve with the Army.
Wow.
I have also veterans in my family. Both my grandfathers were veterans, World War II, disabled. My husband's dad was a career military Army guy. He did 3 tours of Vietnam.
Wow.
Korean War, Bay of Pigs, and he was just a phenomenal human being.
Yeah,
I mean,
like
it just very, he could be a little scary. I'm not going to lie.
Oh yeah.
Because if you have that much time in the military, you have to fold things correctly.
Right.
All those things that come along with being a veteran.
Yeah.
The little things,
Yeah.
the intricacies that they do. You're like, why do I have to fold it like that?
Right.
Well, you just do.
Yeah.
This is how we do it.
That's it. Yeah. Well, so having, your husband as a veteran and other family members, having that close connection, how would you say then that is, how does that affect how you serve our veterans and work for HVAF?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think it's so multi-leveled, veterans and what they go through and what they do for our country. It's a unique perspective. And whether your experience in the military was good or bad, nobody really wants to hear that, right? They're like, thank you for serving, and okay, you're fine. You're in the military, right?
Yeah.
You're like really strong and
Yeah.
important, female, male. But there's a lot more to that. I think, they do go through a lot of things in the military, the things that they have to deal with, the people that they have to deal with. Also coming out of the military, I think there can be a real sense of what direction do I have now, or, like trying to find that path for yourself. And then integrating in the civilian world, I think that can be a little challenging at times too. So it's a transition. It really is a transition. And some people have a different, obviously time with that than others, especially if they were in combat, they were in the infantry, if they were on the front lines. There's a lot of things that we as civilians don't know, and we don't really want to know, right? That's a different battle altogether. I think it just brings perspective and a sense of empathy. And I don't mean that in a way like, oh, I feel sorry for you know what I'm saying? It's like they deserve attention. They deserve our attention, whatever that attention is. Do they need help getting their resume buffed up? Do they need, a place to live? Are they moving? Maybe they've moved here for an opportunity, but they don't really know where to start. There's a lot of different, avenues to take with that. But
it sounds like it's a lot of layers,
definitely,
to a veteran, and depending, of course, when they served, what they did. So that's you definitely, it seems like you have a unique perspective and understanding on that, which is going to really come in handy in your role. It
does. Yeah. I mean, I think I always try to look at it like how they would look at it, or how this person is coming to us. So and giving them the benefit of the doubt. We do work with individuals who have mental health issues, whether that be PTSD. That is a term we hear a lot now, but it's something that really the military hasn't really identified for that long of a period of time. So, when we were talking about like my grandfathers or my father-in-law, when they might have these battle stories, or whether some people don't talk about it at all, right? And they're like, well, they don't talk about it. Don't ask them.
Right.
Or this person talks a lot about this. Something must be wrong with them. Right. I mean, it's just whichever route you go, it could be a lose-lose situation. Right. So I think it's helpful.
Yeah. Yeah. When you started here in 2019, it's been a couple years now.
Yes.
And, it was a team of 4 for the employment services.
Yes.
And now it's
small.
grown.
Now we're at 11.
Yeah, it's crazy. How can you kind of take us through of how it's grown so much in the last few years?
It's been a whirlwind, and I've loved every minute of it. So yeah, when I came on board with the employment team, there were three other people, including our manager at the time, which was Kiara. She's now the director. So what has happened in that short period of time? When I say short period of time, it's flown by, but COVID hit. Yeah. And right before COVID hit, we had an opportunity to work on a grant. Eli Lilly was, sending out an workforce initiative proposals. They wanted proposals. So it was really neat that we were able to work on that with our CEO, Emmy, and our COO, Brian Dysert. So we were just kind of doing our thing, right? COVID hits. We had just had the biggest job fair that we'd ever had. Yeah. It was like close to 200 veterans at this job fair, and then everything shuts down a month later. So it really threw things in an odd direction for everyone in the world, right? But our path, we just grinded away. During COVID, we kept placing veterans. We worked really hard during that time to get, if you were displaced in a job, we're going to get you a job. If you need to, find a better job, this is now an opportunity. So, and then, bam, we found out we got this grant, and it was just amazing. Yeah. I think we were in shock. Yeah. But it was a wonderful opportunity for HVAF, and we doubled in size within a month. It was just incredible. Yeah. Luckily, I think when you have good employees and a hardworking staff, they know people that have the same qualities. Right. So we got a lot of really great referrals, and we were able to turn our, double our staff relatively quickly. So it was a really cool experience in that time. I say that even with COVID, I mean, it brought a lot of new things that we have to pay attention to. It has driven us more virtually in our world, whether that be applications or interviews. And we have to prepare our veterans for that. And we do have a lab for that now. We have a computer lab. It was a Comcast donation that we received a few years ago, and we got that up and running. So it really gave us time, I think, to get things rolling where they needed to be, and to get our veterans situated to where the world was now. Yeah. So, I know that was a lot, but that's what happened since 2019.
Yeah. So now, we have the employment services side, and then we also have VetWorks. Yes. So, I guess what's just like a quick, we'll get into all of it, but first, just a quick maybe elevator pitch, a little overview of VetWorks. Yes.
So this grant that I was just talking about, and I got excited about talking about it, and I didn't even mention the name of VetWorks. It is just a very unique opportunity that we have been given to skill up our veterans. So it's 3 phases. It's a work, learn, and earn program. So, and again, the whole intention is to upskill our veterans so they can have a better job. Yeah. They live a nice livable wage. Yeah. And a lot of times people want to do that, but they don't know how to do it. So it's a great program that we've designed to get them there. There's a lot of steps to it. So my elevator pitch is like 10 minutes long. I'm just kidding. It is. But it's 3 phases. And in those phases, we're working each part to get them to where they need to be. Yeah. So the first phase, we're doing internships. We're working heavily on soft skills. And then in the second phase, we're actually doing education, some type of education, whether that's a certification, it could be finishing a degree, it could be, anything really. And then that third phase is all about employment. So we have dedicated staff at each phase to help propel them to where they need to be. So phase one is, I can go into a lot more depth with that.
Yeah, I was going to say, let's say that I'm a veteran, I got enrolled in VetWorks. Okay, so now what's the next step after I'm enrolled?
Right. So phase one is a lot. There is a lot to phase one, but we have amazing people working in phase one that will get you through.
Yeah.
So it's intended to be a 10-week internship program. But we also have another partner involved in this, downtown Indy, where you can actually work there 40 hours a week. So I'll explain that a little bit. So the 10-week internship, there is a stipend attached. It's $300 a week for 10 weeks. Or you could work at downtown Indy for 40 hours a week. And you can continue to work there through your second phase. So it's a little bit longer of an opportunity if someone needs more income during this time. We also, a lot of times it's extra practice in those soft skills too. Maybe it works out to be a good thing that they're there a little longer. But in that 10 weeks, we're trying to, again, work on those soft skills. Can you show up on time? Do you have a backup plan? Can you follow directions without giving me a big attitude problem? Just all those little things about professionalism. But we have workshops attached to that to kind of reinforce what they're doing in the hands-on. So we have anti-harassment. We have professionalism. We have get a job, keep a job. So now that you have it, how do we keep it? So we have finances. We partner with INHP. So we do have a financial series that we work through. We work on resume interviewing. But the big thing that we do along with those soft skills is we're working on career assessment and developing the path that the veteran wants to take. This program is extremely individualized. So no two paths are going to be alike, which is good. I mean, I love that because everyone is so individual in what they need. So we kind of work through all that in that time frame. And then that leads us to the second phase, right? Where we're doing the education and training piece.
So in phase one, what I think is cool is when you're getting help with these soft skills, because if they were in another internship, another job, if something like that happened, they could just be fired on the spot.
Yes.
And again, what we've talked about with veterans is that there's, they can have a lot of, baggage, and things that they are dealing with. And so there's probably a reason why those things are happening.
Yes.
And so for them to be able to get that second chance and that grace period,
right,
I just think is really, really cool.
Yes. And some of the internships that we offer are here at HVAF. We have IT, we have maintenance. You can work in our community center. We have a couple outside partnerships that we've done as well. We kind of create those on the fly as we need them. And I say on the fly, we do have partnerships with these individuals. We're not just throwing someone at them, but we've done Recovery Cafe. We've done Dad's Inc. So lots of opportunities to get real hands-on experience where you can practice these things. Right. Because we do. It's okay, well, authority seems to be, having issues with authority seems to be kind of a veteran thing. So that's something sometimes we have to work on. It's this person isn't being a jerk. They're just giving you direction of what you need to do. So we work through those things. And there's lots of cool things, but our coworkers are their task instructors here. The individuals that we work with every day are working with our veterans. So not only they're working with them externally, but they're working with them internally, which gives them a really unique perspective. It's been a process to work with our coworkers on that. It's challenging at times. I mean, we don't want to step on their toes. We don't want to get in their way. They're doing us a huge favor, right? And taking on our veterans, but honestly, they've loved it. They've loved it and have had good experiences. We've learned a lot about that. it's hard sometimes to give critical feedback to anyone,
Mm-hmm.
Whether that be an intern, or a coworker, just, any part of that can be challenging.
Yeah. I'm thinking about someone who's listening who maybe they would be interested in offering an internship, for someone. So how do you help them and kind of knowing how to guide and mentor these veterans in their internship?
Yes. And we do really go through that first phase of our program when they do an outside internship, because they need to understand that they're not just doing this, which we typically like it to be 2 full days of hands-on experience that they're getting with the soft skills. But we're like, hey, we need to know, we have to have you communicate with us, right? Good or bad, we need to know. Yeah. And we tell them as well, like, tell us the truth and we'll deliver it in the way that that it needs to be delivered. But it also goes a long way when they're delivering critical feedback to a veteran in that position. But we have reports, that we ask. It's an evaluation, that they fill out and send us, and we go over it. But if they're just that honest communication with us is the main thing. So we can report, they can report to them and we can report to the veteran. Yeah. This is what we need to work on. This is what you're doing great at. A lot of times, we even have improvement plans. So, it is a process, and, not everyone's going to get it right the first time, and that's okay. Yeah. We just believe that, hey, let's work through it and let's give it another shot. So we just try to drive those basics home, just give us some critical feedback so we can move forward in a positive way for you and for me. It's interesting because we had a veteran here that was a task instructor for one of our veterans, and he was having some real communication issues. And he was like, I've never dealt with this before. Yeah. And I was like, well, what do you mean you never dealt with this? And he goes, well, I'm just used to people doing this and that, and they show up and they do their job. And I think we take that for granted. All of us do. If you've grown up with, this incredible work ethic, or, always being ingrained in you that, a job comes first, or you show up on time, or you know how to deal with finances, which at this phase in my life, I realize not many people are good at finance. Yeah. And I always tell people that when they're like, I'm not good with money. And I'm like, well, not necessarily everyone is. Right. Let's talk about it. Right. Let's figure it out, because that's one part of being successful is learning how to deal with money. Yeah. So it's a big one that we do work with. And credit, understanding credit and how it works negatively for you. So it's a real learning process, like in many different ways. Yeah. Yeah. So once they, completed phase 1, then they go into phase 2. And what is that like then? So, our phase 2 employment specialist, he really tries to get a lot of that done with the veteran in phase 1. They're doing assessments. They're really talking about, what do you like to do? What have you done? What do you feel like you're passionate or good at? And then we devised, hey, what are we going to do? IT's a huge industry right now, whether it be cybersecurity or help desk or anything like that. But we do have assessments that we do with them, so Randy can help shape what classes he's looking at, or what kind of certifications, or, we have so many partnerships with educational institutions. It's been phenomenal, the support that we've had with all of our partners. But so he can say, okay, this is when you're starting. We'll pay for it. We have funding that we can get. Like if you need something attached to the school, it could be, hey, I need a really good pair of work boots, or I need this, type of pants, or I need a laptop, or, so a lot of the things that people need for education or a job, they don't necessarily have the money up front to spend. We work with that quite a bit in the employment department with one of our grants, like aviation mechanics. They're expected to have about $2,000 worth of tools to start. Right. And I don't know many people who don't have a job that can do that. So the challenges that are put on individuals, whether you're a veteran or not, to start a career or finish an education is very challenging when you're trying to survive and meet living expenses and things like that. So we do also provide a lot of supports around that. We make sure that they have food. We just partnered with Second Helpings, who are bringing us lunches every week to help our interns, and that's been phenomenal. We learned early on, we didn't think about that.
Yeah.
And while they're here, it's like, you need to eat.
Right.
And they'd still go they're allowed to go to our pantry every week like any other veteran. So we just try to make sure everything's in place to help support them along the way. It's stressful enough starting something new or moving careers. We see that with our older veterans. We do serve quite a big part of the veterans that we serve here are older. Our mean age is about 52 and a half. Which I don't consider that old. I said older.
You're right.
But a lot of times physically what they've been doing, maybe they can't do that anymore. Maybe it's too hard, or maybe they're burned out. But then we kind of help shape, like, where can we transfer those skills to? So we're help molding that. Individuals have to work longer these days, and with inflation, it can be very challenging right now. We partner with lots of great agencies. I mentioned INHP. They provide some supports with rent there as well. So if someone's in training, we can try to help with those costs as well.
Okay, so once they have completed the education certification in phase 2, then what does phase 3 look like?
Yes, phase 3, we have a dedicated, like I said, staff person for each phase. And our phase 3 employment and retention person is very good at her job. So she does help individuals, of course, make sure their resume is updated, up to speed, up to par where it needs to be. She has a lot of connections with employers, so she might be helping make those interview appointments and things like that. And some veterans maybe want to be a little more independent about it, and she can kind of just point them in the right direction. But she does make sure that they're ready for those interview questions that we practice in phase 1. And then she really, once they get hired, do you need anything? We do have some funds attached to 3 if you need something for work that we didn't get to in 2, right? So maybe you do need that uniform. You need, something along, something work related to get you started. So we have that, but she does hang in there for a whole year of retention. So during that time, we have had individuals like, okay, this job didn't work, or I don't like it. And she's helped them, like, okay, well, let's do something else. Let's try a different employer. Let's do this. So it's about catching those things as they come up and providing the supports in real time. We've had individuals that may, for example, relapse 6 months on the job. We go back and we're like, what could we have done to try to support this person better? So we really do take it all seriously and go back and try to figure out, like, what can we do differently? What can we do better? That is the other wonderful thing about the Lilly Grant, is just the fact that we can, say, this isn't working. Let's do this. Let's try this. And they've given us the autonomy to do that. So it's been really neat to do that with our staff, because our staff they're so good at what they do. They have lots of experience between them. We have to work closely together, which sometimes probably gets annoying to everyone, but we do. We have to work closely together with all these veterans to just for the best possible outcomes that we can do. And sometimes a veteran just finds out, okay, I thought I wanted to do this, but maybe I don't. That's not a failure. That's a success. It's a lot of pieces, but we have staff that have these relationships that we can reach out. So I know it sounds like a crazy nightmare, but it's really not.
And it's been a couple years now, so you guys have been able to kind of figure it out.
We just started our 3rd year, which is, I can't wrap my brain around 2 years gone. But we learned so much from the 1st year to the 2nd year. Our numbers have really taken off in a positive way. But, enrollments the 1st year, of course, they're going to be a little lower. We're trying to get the name of the program out there. We're trying to work out the kinks. So we went from 31 enrollments the 1st year to 49 the 2nd. So it's like, yay, we're growing. All that marketing, like, I grab you, Lauren, and I say, help me, help me. No, you've been you guys have no idea how much Lauren has work she's put in helping us market VetWorks. So we really appreciate it. I really appreciate it. And I've learned a lot on the marketing side of how to do that. So it's been a good thing for me too. But and then also seeing our numbers from the first year come in, because if you're in school, it's going to take a minute, right, to see the success come through. So we've seen recently 7 people from that first year graduate with 1 year on the job.
Wow.
So it's it's just really interesting, cool, pride. There's such a sense of pride for everyone involved to see that come back. Our average wage, we're targeting a minimum of $18 an hour. Our average wage the first year was a little over 21, and now that's over $26 an hour. So we're really exceeding that metric, which we're very excited about. I mean, that's the trend that we want to see. We have seen a few areas like bottom of the line entry level IT. They're starting right there at 17, 18 until they get like that certification or a little experience under their belt. Yeah. But luckily that seems to grow fairly quickly. Yeah. One of our huge successes that I really need to talk about, we're talking about IT. So one of our individuals, he just needed like help with the certification. He's finishing his degree. And he was able to get into an internship with the government, the federal government, decent paying 1 year, internship, but he just finished that in May and they hired him directly, over $80,000 a year. Wow. So we were like, this is amazing. We just had also someone on, a lot of veterans that, come to us that have had issues with either mental health or addictions. And once they get through that, they really want to give back and they really want to help other veterans. So we've helped with several, it's called peer recovery mentorship. Yeah. It's a certification where they can coach other veterans that have had these issues. We've had several really cool stories with that. One of our individuals that just graduated 1 year on the job. Yeah. You may have interviewed him, but I'll keep that a secret for now. But, he got a promotion and they, gave him a great salary increase, and we're just beaming with pride with these stories.
Yeah, that is Jeremiah. He's going to be in our blog at the end of July this month.
Awesome. So you can learn more. Yes, stay tuned. But also on the flip side of these big successes, we definitely want to look at small successes too, because every success is just that, a success. Right. So it could be we helped an individual with a hearing aid, and he just didn't have the resources to get it together himself. Right. And Cole, one of our phase 1 employment specialists, got it done. And he's like, I heard birds at the bus stop for the first time. And it's like, so stuff like that, where sometimes people just need like a little tiny bit of like direction on how to get things done, because it can be overwhelming. Yeah. So those are cool stories too.
So now that you're in your 3rd year, what are some of your future plans and goals with VetWorks? Yeah,
I mean, so we have, it's interesting because as we've grown into this each year, for example, last year we found out that we needed to change some things with the soft skills training that we were doing. Our staff did that. They're amazing. They were just like talked it out. So if we feel like from, one moment to the next that it's like, well, can we tweak this a little bit? Yeah. Can we add this? So I definitely want to continue doing those things that we're already doing. But of course, in enrollments, we would really like to see, even though we have seen that increase every year so far, in 2 years so far, we're going to continue our marketing, continue our outreach to continue to grow those numbers. Yeah. I would love to we have several schools that come to us with veterans, just for more of that to happen as well, to get the word out. Yeah. Sometimes our National Guard veterans don't have the same resources monetarily with education. I would love to get, more information and word out to those individuals that we could assist in skilling up. So I feel like we have so much more to do with marketing, right? It's always a push in our outreach. We continue to just work with employers and other agencies in our community. And that's the other thing I love about not only HVAF, but also this grant. One of the big focuses is pulling agencies together to work together for, the ultimate cause, right? Yeah. But HVAF has always been welcoming to other agencies. Yeah. Like, we can do this together. We don't have to do it by ourselves, or come on in and let's, I just love that. I love that about them.
Yeah. Why should an employer hire a veteran?
Well, I think I love that question. We get that question a lot, because I think once you have a veteran, they are very loyal. They're loyal, and they are hard workers. Yeah. I think that, like I said, the transition sometimes and figuring out your path, or, getting into that civilian life, I think that there sometimes can be like a little bit of, maybe leeway an employer can give. Like, if I could just work with them a little bit up front. Some employers, we've learned this more recently, have veteran mentors, where they pair a veteran there, with a newer veteran. Oh, nice. And I love talking about that, because I want to hear more about that. But once you have them, you have them. Right. So they're going to be loyal. They're going to be solid workers. Mm-hmm. So I mean, plus just personality wise, I feel like they've been through some things, right, that other people haven't. Mm-hmm. So they tend to have that tenacity, right, and that grit that employers are looking for.
Yeah. Yeah. If there's a veteran who's listening right now and, wants to join VetWorks, how can they do that?
Yes. A couple of different ways. They can call our main line here at HVAF and ask for our employment intake coordinator, Mallory. Mm-hmm. I also have Mallory's number down here, so I would like to share it. It's 317-526-2458.
And I'll include that in the show notes as well. Yeah,
that'd be great. She does all of our intake for employment, the workforce development department, but we take them from there and then move forward with where they're going, whether that be employment or with VetWorks. So we do try to do a really good job up front, finding out what do you need? How can we help you? How can we get there? Mm-hmm. So we try to assess that before they're actually assigned to anyone.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for coming on here, and
thanks for having me. This is my first official podcast. So.
Well, nice. So welcome.
I'll be back.
Right, exactly. All right, that wraps up this episode of Roger That. Thank you so much for listening. If you haven't already, please be sure to subscribe to Roger That on wherever you get your podcasts, and be sure to follow us on social media at HVAF of Indiana. And for even more stories on HVAF and the veterans that we serve, check out our blog on our website at hvaf.org. Thank you, and until no hero is homeless, we'll see you next time on Roger That, a podcast presented by HVAF of Indiana.